guys, we are joined by Malou Perez from the Pawssion Project. I almost said that. Sorry, Mike. From Pawssion Project, an amazing cause where she saves dogs and she has a shelter. It is Bacolod based, but in case I make a mistake, can you talk about it?
Well, Pawssion Project is Bacolod based, but the shelter is actually in Victoria. So it's a city that's almost an hour drive away from Bacolod.
Okay. And you started this by yourself. You found a place and you decided, hey, we need to save dogs. How did it start for you?
Yeah, it started really last October 10, to be exact. I was at the farm. Well, it's my friend's farm, Manang Jen's farm. And then we were supposed to Airbnb it because she saw me post the photo when I went camping in Palawan. So she had this idea and she wanted to put up tents in the farm and then we're gonna Airbnb it. And then, I was the only person who believed in that vision. So we were supposed to Airbnb it and I was really there. Right there and then at the farm when all of these happened. I was there on the farm because I was supposed to have the area cleaned already because we were going to start the Airbnb business. And then she saw this post on Facebook about 50 dogs who were all about scheduled to be shot. So it's not like the usual euthanasia, but like gunshot.
50 dogs?
50 dogs. Okay. And because you know what happens with the stray dogs, with impounded dogs, once they get impounded, they only have 3 days in the pound. And when they're not adopted or rescued, they're going to be killed by gunshot. It's in Bacolod. It's in Bacolod. And unfortunately, it's legal.
That's the law in Bacolod, no? Wow. I didn't even know that.
It's legal in the Philippines.
In the Philippines, okay.
Sorry. It's legal in the Philippines. But it varies in every city, in every pound.
Okay.
The way of killing the dog. Some pounds still practice suffocating the dogs.
Okay.
And then
I guess it's cheaper, but that's still terrible.
Carbon monoxide, yes.
Oh my God.
Because of course we don't have a budget.
Yeah, you don't have a budget to give them
People would always question why would they kill the dogs by a gunshot? Why not by the proper euthanasia? And then sometimes when I see comments like that, I would want to comment if you can afford, you would gladly welcome euthanasia for the proper way of killing the dogs because. Reality is we can't even save all the street kids. How much more all the dogs?
For the dogs, yeah.
Right? So I was there and then she called me and then she told me I saw this post about this 50 dogs were all gonna be scheduled to be put down by gunshot. And then she said, are you okay with having to rescue them? Because, she just knows that I like dogs. What she didn't know was that it's actually my dream and it wasn't my yearbook that I wanted a dog shelter. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then I was there, really.
Yeah.
What a coincidence. And then she said, the farm is pretty wide. We have enough space for the dogs.
So she pitched it to you. It's let's do this. Okay.
Yes, but she was I'm just going to offer the space, but I can't do the work.
She doesn't want to do it. Okay.
Yes. So,
wow.
Without second thoughts, I just said yes. I don't know how crazy I was that time. I didn't think of anything.
Were you not doing anything in your life at the time, or? I'm sure you were.
Yeah, but it's something that I've always wanted. So that's why I didn't have any second thoughts.
Wow.
And then, of course, I think any dog lover, if you would learn that the dogs are going to be shot, your normal instinct would be, okay, we're going to save them. And then we're just going to think about whatever we have to do after. So I said yes. That was a Saturday. I could clearly remember. Sunday, I had to go back to the farm because I had to have the area grass cut. Because, the grasses and all the plants were really tall already. So I had to go back there on a Sunday and had to have the area grass cut. And then I just posted on Facebook and it went really viral. And then people were all saying they were very grateful because we already posted that we're gonna rescue the dogs. And then that particular post actually about these dogs have been running around in social media for probably a week already. And everyone's like, wow. And I personally shared that post. I saw a post about these dogs and I just shared it. And then, going through all of these rescue thing, I realized majority of us are actually just like that. I was just once like everyone who would see all these terrible posts and like, you know, all these photos about the dogs, all these news about the dogs, but we don't really do anything. Yeah, like we say, okay, kawawa naman the dogs, but we're not really doing anything. So, yeah, I said yes to rescuing the dogs, went back to the farm on a Sunday to have the area prepared, and with a post that went viral, there were people who messaged me and they pledged. So they were saying like, okay, we'll donate for the transpo of the dogs. And then Joey Mead actually pledged for one of the first few fences.
Great.
And it was crazy really how everyone, just random people would message me, and I felt really overwhelmed. So it was crazy how I started it with nothing, and then Monday the first fence was there already, and then I went back to the pound on a Tuesday and got the dogs, and the dogs were there on a Tuesday.
All 50.
Well, they were split into two because there was
Okay.
another group who also pledged that they were gonna rescue
Oh, the
rescue
other 25.
dogs.
Wow.
So it was split into two.
Wow.
So the first batch, but then that particular group was just like a temporary shelter. They just wanted to get the dogs out
have
from
them,
the pound. Yeah. But I really thought of having it like a permanent shelter already. So since then, I couldn't stop anymore.
You have to keep going.
Because I saw what the dogs go through there, and it was crazy, terrible. You know, the pound, there are 8 cells inside the pound. It's a 1 by 1 meter cell, and our pound used to be a slaughterhouse, and it still looks like a slaughterhouse. So it's like a 1 by 1 meter cell, and there are like 10, sometimes there are 10 dogs that fit inside the cell.
Inside a 1 by 1
meter cell.
Oh, right.
So it's crazy. You
Okay,
can imagine
yeah.
how bad the situation of the
Squishy it
dogs
is,
are.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. The rest was history, really, because of that very bad situation. I clearly remember the first time that we rescued dogs. I was about to break down because I saw one dog almost died because, well, he got choked because he was trying to get out from the leash.
And he was, that crazy that he was killing himself. Oh, my
Yes, he was
goodness.
struggling, and it wasn't the proper way really to catch the dog. That's why.
Yeah.
So I was almost breaking down. I just had to distract myself. I had to do something with my phone just so I won't see the situation, but I could still hear the dog whining really. So it was so bad. But then I was trying to compose myself and was talking to myself, if I cry here, how am I gonna rescue all the other dogs? Because for sure, if I start crying, I can't stop anymore. So I was talking to myself, you cannot cry. So
you have to learn how to absorb seeing some difficult things. Right?
Yes.
Like,
But it was so bad for someone who loves dogs. It was my first time to be in the pound. So it was so bad, but because of that particular experience, it was really what made me do all of these things, because I learned that they impound dogs every week, and people would ask, why would they impound dogs? Why not let the dogs roam around the streets? So how we educate people is, this is also in support of the Anti-Rabies Act. So it's always a battle between human welfare and animal welfare, because we can't deny that they're actually also aggressive dogs. So that's why they impound dogs. And in our city, I went to because the process really with having to rescue dogs is that you go to the city hall, to the cashier in the city hall, and you have to pay 150 pesos adoption per dog. Okay. And then after that, you have to go to the city vet to sign the adoption papers. So when I first went to the city vet, they have this board there, and then there's a list of different barangays requesting for the impounding of dogs. And that's when I realized that's why there's a lot of dogs being impounded, because people request. And I thought that's maybe because people don't realize that the dogs are actually being killed 3 days later. And that's true enough. People really didn't know that the dogs were being killed. And it's not just a normal killing, it's really by gunshot.
By gunshot or suffocating. But when they impound their dog, are they not, or impound a dog, are they not advised, like, by the way, these dogs are going to get killed? No, it's like, okay, we'll take them.
No.
Really?
No, they just take
What?
dogs. I even
Oh,
heard
my.
people telling me, well, there were some who were telling me they'd had experiences too, that their dogs were impounded, that the dogs were just able to get out of the gate
And then it was impounded.
and then it was impounded.
Oh
So,
my God.
like from my experience, there were dogs who were impounded with collars. So, of course, I thought it was really stupid.
Somebody owns the dog, right? Like, why
Exactly.
would you
Exactly,
kill it?
but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure. I think it's in the ordinance or something. So
Yeah.
long as the dog is, you know,
out of the house or
yeah,
whatever,
in a
yeah.
public area, then that gives them the right to impound. But sometimes when you think of it, it's just so crazy. Why would you impound dogs who's not really doing anything?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're supposed to impound dogs in support of Anti-Rabies Act, but the dog is not aggressive. Why are you catching the dog? Right?
Yes, true.
But like, what really disheartened me all throughout this experience was we were able to rescue lactating moms.
Wow.
So we always, well, of course, first thought that comes to mind, so the puppies are gonna die. Because, you know, like newborn puppies, sometimes the mama dogs will keep them like in
Yeah,
bushes
they're
and
somewhere,
stuff.
no? Yeah.
They're just somewhere there. And, you know, how are they gonna survive if they impounded the mama dog? So that's what disheartens me really. Every time
Yeah.
we would rescue dogs who you see are lactating, you would think, oh my God, the puppies
Yeah.
are gonna die. And then, so it's crazy. It's like a roller coaster of emotions, really. Like
Yeah.
the whole rescue thing. But every time I would rescue dogs, I feel like I don't have emotions anymore. Because all I want to do every time I'm at the pound is just to get the dogs out of there.
Save them as quickly as possible.
Because I can clearly remember how I was before I became a dog rescuer. Every time I would see all this violent pictures of dogs, even just photos, not even videos, I would feel so emotional. I would feel so disheartened.
Yeah.
And then sometimes people would tell me, how do you do that? I can't do what you're doing.
Yep.
And then I would tell them, well, I don't know to. I just can't explain.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I just realized it's basically really just my drive to just get the dogs out of there. And I just can't feel anything anymore. I just feel all these emotions when I rest.
You dove into like the pits of hell, kind of, right? At
I
least you
know.
feel that way. But what you know, you're not lacking any motivation for what you're doing. But what happens when you bring the dogs to your sanctuary? Yeah, can you talk to us about that? Because yeah, like obviously some of them are pregnant, some of them are
Yeah.
abused, some of them are sick. What happens once you're able to save them?
Yeah, so actually the journey of the dogs from the pound to the shelter is very, very tiring. Because you imagine, you just took them out from the pound and then, well, some had to be put in cages because they're aggressive.
Aggressive, yeah.
And then sometimes you would have a hard time looking for a container van or you know, like a wing van, something that's enclosed.
You're doing this all yourself, right?
Well, I was very, very grateful then during the beginning of the journey that I had very, very few committed volunteers. But
Wow.
it doesn't matter because they were just as committed as me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I had a few committed volunteers when I started the project. And we are actually very grateful also for the friend of my very committed volunteer, Tita Spy. They offered the wing van.
Wow.
So long as the wing van is available, then we can use it
Transport the dogs.
to transport the dogs. So supposed to be dogs should be rescued after 3 days, right? But well, the pound would allow us when we would tell them, can we just move it like 2-3
Extend.
more days because the van is not available.
Yeah.
So of course they would be okay. So I was just very grateful then that I had a few committed volunteers. So the journey of the dogs from pound to the shelter is very tiring because there were times wherein we won't have the wing van available. So we would opt for a pickup. So it's open. So we had to put the dogs in cages. So again, that 1 hour drive from the pound to the shelter would feel like 24 hours, 1 month, but it's the longest ride of their lives, right? Because
I'm
most
sure.
probably they're already thinking, oh, we're gonna be dead after this because we've been through
Yeah.
worst, right?
Yeah.
So it's, you know, every time we arrive at the shelter, there's just a lot of, you know, anxiety poops and wee-wee in the car because all these dogs are scared.
What a mess.
Yeah, yeah. So that was in the beginning because of course we didn't have a system then. I mean, to be honest, I haven't watched any shelter or rescue video ever since I started it. So I really don't know how it's being run. It's like all by instinct.
You're just trying it out. You're committed to it. I'm gonna do it even though I don't know how.
Yes.
You're amazing. That's cool.
So I don't even have a medical background. I'm a marketing student. So it's just so far from what I'm doing. But yeah, so we didn't have a system then. I mean, well, we weren't able to bring the dogs straight to the vet after the pound, so it's always just the pound straight to the shelter. And of course, we didn't think about having sick dogs and stuff, right? You wouldn't think about that. You just want to rescue the dogs
happens,
and
and
bring
then
to
all
the
of a sudden
shelter.
you're like, oh shoot, they are sick. We should
Right?
take them.
And we never really thought about that.
Yeah.
So straight to the shelter, and then once they arrive at the shelter, the struggle really, because at the shelter, it's not like when you arrive there, it's there already. You have to go up. You have to go up the stairs for you to be able to arrive at the shelter.
Okay.
So there are some dogs that you really just can't leash them because they're just very traumatized, very scared. So we have to carry them.
Oh.
So we have to carry some of the dogs
So that
all
was
the way up.
25 dogs your first round, no? Like.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
And then
Wow.
once they arrive at the shelter, what we really did and what we really thought is that, you know, imprinting is very, very important. So every time we have new rescues, it's always buffet for the rescues. Like feed them.
Like steak, shrimp, sushi.
Yes. We order from Yaki Mix. We order from Vikings.
Vikings talaga. Nice.
Buffet. Yeah, so I guess some wanna be rescue dogs now.
Can I go to your sanctuary?
But yeah, every time the dogs would arrive at this shelter, it's always, you know, give them food for as long as they're still hungry.
Nice.
So it's really imprinting, you know, making them understand that this is a nice place, no one's gonna hurt you here. And then we try to off leash really the dogs when they arrive there. We didn't really thought of
like
them
it.
running away and stuff. So when they arrived, we had to off leash the dogs just so they get the feel of freedom. So after feeding them, off leash them. But the problem with having to off leash the dogs was that it was just it's so unbelievable. In just a matter of few hours with being with them, there were a few dogs who would follow me when I would go home.
Aww.
So there was this one dog who
No.
even reached like, you know, it was really far from the shelter already. It reached like near the mall and Victoria's. And the caretaker had to follow and, you know, catch the dog because the dog went out and wanted to go home with
Yeah,
me.
chase after you. It's like,
Yes.
this person saved me and feeded me.
Yes. So it was such a struggle. So, you know, that was one of my struggles with having to start the shelter. No matter how hard it was for me, I had to leash the dogs. So they had to be inside the fence and they had to be leashed because of what happened. And I have to
Yeah.
admit there were a few dogs really who were able to escape from the shelter.
Ooh.
And I felt so bad about it. But then, well, some of the committed volunteers, some of the people who helped out just told me, well, they tried to console me and they told me, well, at least they were not killed in the pound. It's something that's out of their control. At least
Yeah.
you did your best. But I felt so bad, really. I felt so bad, like, you know, all the efforts you did to save them and they were able to escape just because for some dogs, it would really take a while for
Yeah.
them to recover from
For
all
sure.
the trauma, from everything they've been through. So, but then if you're running a shelter and your goal is really to have all these dogs adopted, you know, responsible, it takes having to spay and neuter the dogs for you to become a responsible rescuer, so that when the dogs get adopted, well, they're sterilized.
So the goal is
already.
for people to actually adopt the dogs
Yes.
in the shelter. Oh, okay.
Yes. So that's the goal, really. What we tell people, shelter is a nice place, but nothing compares to a home.
Of course.
You know, and sometimes it breaks my heart when I would learn that there's a dog that's gonna be adopted because I get so attached to them. So with the first batch of dogs, well, we had names for the first few dogs.
First batch, right? Yeah.
And then when people would adopt the first few dogs, it would break my heart really because I get attached to them. So what I did, I didn't give names anymore for them.
Just give them number tags.
Yes. We just
No
had
attachment.
Yes, it was
That's
so
so
hard.
hard.
It was so funny. There was this one dog. She was part of the first batch.
Yeah.
And then someone came and wanted to adopt. And I was like, can you not adopt this dog first? This dog needs to be neutered and stuff. I was making all
You're
these
just making excuse.
Yes. And then come another batch of people who
So
wanted
bad.
to adopt.
Aww.
There was this dog that they wanted to adopt, and I was like, oh, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's so hard, really, when you get attached to the dog. But, I really want to name the dog, so it's easier for us to call them.
Remember, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, having a shelter, you're taking in all these dogs from the impound. The idea of people just impounding their dogs and the concept of adopting versus shopping. Can you enlighten us on that world?
Yeah, actually, well, with the whole rescue thing, that made me realize why rescuers are, they're actually angry with breeders. They don't like breeders.
Breeders.
Yes.
Because,
well, that's also something I realized. Like, if you're a breeder, it's so hard to consider yourself as a legit animal lover. Because while you actually breed and sell dogs, don't you think of all the millions of dogs in the shelters who are waiting to be adopted? And the more dogs you breed, the more dogs that are available in the market, the lesser the chances of these dogs to be adopted. Because again, people would want dogs with breed for Instagram.
the really pretty ones that
The
no one else
pretty
has,
ones.
expensive ones, yeah.
Yes, but Chihuahuas are cute, Pomeranians are cute, but take away the fur, you think they're still cute? I mean, I'm a
No.
dog lover, but yeah, we have to admit it. They're not actually as beautiful without the coat.
Yeah.
But the strays, the aspens, what you see is what you get.
That's it.
That's it already. So that's why we really are appealing to breeders. We're also appealing to the government if we can have laws to really regulate breeders. Like, I think it's really better to have just a maximum number of dogs for breeding, or number of dogs to be sold per breeder per year. So, it's controlled. Of course, it's not really bad because, if they stop breeding, then we'll never get to have
Those types of dogs,
those
right?
types of
Yeah.
dogs. But I think the key really is just regulated breeding. So you give chances to all these shelter dogs to be adopted as well. That's why the adopt, don't shop slogan
Concept, yeah.
or a concept, yeah. Because that's really the whole idea of it. If people keep on breeding, people will never really consider adopting dogs. But you talk to all of these people who have adopted rescue dogs, and they will tell you all these amazing stories about how the dogs have changed their lives.
Yeah.
And I personally have adopted one dog, and he's crazy actually. He's such a pain in the ass, and I was able to tame him and was able to touch him after months. Really, it was such an effort.
Months. Wow.
Months, really. So much effort, but it's just so rewarding every time you think of, most especially if you know the history of the dog. It's just so rewarding when you see the dog freely running around, very, very confident, from this very, very scared dog to this very confident dog. It's something that makes you want to buy yourself a trophy.
Yes.
I've done something right in my life.
I'm a good human.
Yeah, I'm a good human for me to be able to make this dog understand that
Yeah.
life is good.
Yes.
So, yeah, there's just so many things that I can say about having to encourage people to adopt rather than shop.
Definitely. One of the things I notice is, and I know we were briefly talking about this, is when people buy a pet, it's like, what is it actually for? Are you doing it just because you want an accessory, like you want a handbag, or are you even prepared to take care of this animal? Because one of the problems is these dogs that you're rescuing are from owners that are impounding their own dogs because all of a sudden that dog became aggressive. Well, we're not going to do that to our kids or our humans.
Yes.
So why do we do it to our pets? And I think it's just, like being prepared for that responsibility, because you adopted this dog. It's not because it's cute and it's awesome, but
Yes.
you're actually putting some effort into it,
Yes.
right? Like, isn't that just the reality of things anyway?
Yeah, and actually having said that, it made me think like how many breeders actually like give instructions when someone buys a dog. Like how many breeders would tell people, you have to be a committed fur parent to this dog. You have to have the dog spayed or neutered.
They'll have a hard time selling it if that's the case,
Right?
though.
I think not too well. Maybe I won't discount because probably there'd be also a few breeders
I'm sure,
who
that are
would give
responsible.
instructions to like people who would buy from them. But I think majority really would not put so much effort into educating people. But like what I noticed with rescuers is that, when someone adopts a dog, we even have an adoption paper and agreement, right? Because we put so much effort with having to educate the people because we realize that it's really, the problem with responsible pet ownership. That's the reason why we have so many strays. That's the reason why we have impounded dogs, because people will just suddenly give up on the responsibility with having to have a pet. So that's why if you would ask, almost all shelters have qualifications. You have all these questions really when someone adopts a dog. So it's crazy, right? Like this is, a person will come there and take the responsibility from us, rescuers and shelter owners, but we have like a long list of questions. So we ask people like, well, can you actually afford? We don't want to discriminate. Because it brings me so much joy every time I would see people in the slums who would take care of their dogs. But I would always consider, like, what if the dog gets sick? Because I get so many messages from people all over the Philippines every day, sending me dog reports, asking for help because the dog is sick and stuff. So, it's something that you even have to consider also when you get a pet, when you get a dog. Because again, what if the dog gets sick? So that's why one of the things that we also ask is like, can you afford to bring your dog to the vet if the dog gets sick? Or like can someone help you? Things like that. So we really ask people questions like that. And we check on the background. So many people are messaging me wanting to adopt puppies. So many people, majority of the people wanting to adopt at the shelter all want puppies. And I would tell them, why do you like puppies? I don't actually allow puppies being adopted by people who's never had a dog. I'm so sorry to say that.
Because
they've never had any experience with having a dog. And people always want puppies because they're cute. And I always tell people, these are stray dogs. Their appearances change when they grow up compared to like breed dogs. They're really cute when they're puppies, and they're still cute when they grow up because you know already how they're gonna look like. I mean, when you get a golden retriever, you already know what a golden retriever would look like.
as an adult,
But when you get a stray puppy, when you get an Aspen, you don't really know what it'll look like when it grows as an adult. So that's why I'm very, very strict with having to have puppies adopted. So I don't allow people who's never had a dog adopt a puppy. Because again, when the puppy grows older and they won't like the appearance of the dog, it might end up in the
It's gonna end
streets
up
again.
in the streets again, or with you again. You're like, oh, here we go again.
I saw you. I remember you.
Oh
You're
my
like the
God.
puppy here 5 years ago.
Malu, ayoko na nung dog. Can I bring it back to you? It's like, oh
Can
my
I
God.
donate the dog
Yeah,
to
can
you?
I donate the dog? We'll skip that. You
So
guys.
that's why we're very, very strict, because you already know, like, you know the cycle of what's gonna happen, really. So that's why we're very, very strict with people adopting. And then I would always tell people, how it's so much better to adopt an adult dog, because what you see is what you get.
Yep.
That's the dog already, so you never have to be disappointed. And with puppies, you still have to potty train, you have to complete the vaccination and stuff. But with the adult dog, that's it already. I mean, the adult dog knows already where to wee wee and where to go poo poo.
Yep.
So you don't really have to put so
actually
much
easier.
effort with having to train the dog.
It's easier. It's like a human.
Exactly. So that's why Pawssion Project really is not just a rescue group. We're not just a shelter. Well, I'm personally thinking of the bigger picture. Like, I have this vision really, no matter how impossible it sounds, because we have thousands and thousands of strays in the Philippines. I really have this vision of, having the strays adopted, and then having the government work with all these NGOs, with all these shelters, with all these animal lovers, providing them with a budget to have dogs vaccinated, to have, like free spay and neuter operations every month. And I can really see it like, there's gonna be a big difference. Let's say 5 years from now, probably there's gonna be lesser strays because people are starting to adopt dogs already, and then we have had efforts on trying to control the population. So I really have this vision of the Philippines having just little strays, very fat, healthy, happy strays, because there's just so little of them, and everyone gets the chance to feed strays because there's not a lot of them.
There's fewer.
The reason why we have starving dogs, the reason why we have sick dogs, the reason why we have very, very thin dogs is because there's just too many of them for us to take care of.
Yep.
So, the vision of Pawssion Project is beyond just rescuing dogs. It's really, being a game changer, really. Creating a society that's animal friendly, creating a society that's kinder, because I believe really when someone is kind enough to love an animal, a dog, then that person really has the capacity to be kind to everyone else. So with the shelter really, well, I would always put the hashtag in my posts, hope in humanity. Because it would make people understand how the dogs are really voiceless forever. Forever, really. I'm someone who loves kids. I'm someone who has the heart for all these street kids. But I always think, these kids will grow up. All these kids will grow up. All these kids can find jobs for themselves, can speak for themselves. But the dogs, they will never ever have a voice. So that's why we have to, we have to care for them. We have to do something for them. We're all here as stewards, and I
love it. That's why you're here. You are the voice of the dogs of the Philippines. But you know what's ironic? I have to mention this. What you're promoting is technically going to destroy the Pawssion Project. Like, if you were to succeed in your goal, then you won't be needed anymore.
I don't think so. That's why
Really?
I've been saying, like, Pawssion Project is not just a shelter. We started as a shelter. But the goal really of Pawssion Project right now, like, I have so many visions in mind. I have so many
We'll be here all night.
I have so many dreams, really. Like, I even want to make a list of all the shelters in the Philippines.
Boom.
And make everyone, help each other. Because, like, based on my experience that I get so many dog reports from people all over the country, because they would think I'm Paws. They would think I'm Manila-based. They would think, like, there's a lot of people behind Pawssion, and sometimes I can't help it, and I would tell them because sometimes there are other people who would get mad because I don't reply to them. So I would tell them, I'm so sorry, this is a one-woman show, to be honest.
Oh my God. Yes, guys, this is a reality. It's just her. So how can because I'm included in this,
Yes.
how can we help you? Because, that's one of the things that I think we should tackle during this chat is, I'm sure you're overwhelmed by people like wanting to donate dogs or have questions about dogs.
Donate dogs.
What's the that's a terrible term. What's the best thing in order to help this cause and to help your cause, Pawssion Project?
Yeah, on a bigger scale, like I mentioned earlier, the reason why I want to collate a list of all the shelters in the Philippines, because I want to make a post about all the shelters in the Philippines, their contact details, and then just post it nationwide, so that people will be aware, we have a shelter too in our place. So we don't have to contact Pawssion Project. And then a lot of people have been messaging me. They're all like, we want to volunteer, we want to help. And I would tell them, we're actually Bacolod-based. So they feel disheartened already. And I would tell them, if you really want to help, then probably you can go check out your local pound. You'll never know.
Yeah.
Like, the dogs are actually going through worse. So you can help out in your area too. So the reason why I want to collate a list of all the shelters so that people will know where to go, and people who want to volunteer and people who want to help know which shelters to help. I mean, which one is nearer to their area. And again, like I mentioned, I just have so many dreams. I have so many plans. Like, I wanted the Philippines to have an animal rescue desk because we don't have one. And again, I get so many dog reports every day. People messaging me about, dogs with severe mange problems. We have dogs, like, just yesterday, someone sent me a photo of 2 big dogs in one small cage. So one of our followers sent it to us because she was very concerned about the dog. And then she said she felt so disheartened seeing one dog sitting down, because they don't have space to lie down. So that's just a few, and I get worst. I get like the worst of the worst messages about dogs needing help. So that's why I think it's very important that we have to have an animal rescue desk. And then what I realized also, because the shelter is in Victorias and it's an hour away from Bacolod, which is like the capital or like the main city in Negros, or like in our area. I realized that there's so many provinces and cities without a vet or a clinic. So, you get to realize how people who don't have means of transportation are hopeless when a dog is sick. Because even in the city, even in our city, even in Bacolod, sometimes when there's an emergency with a dog in the middle of the night, you don't even have a vet or a clinic to go to because there's no 24/7 vet. And then you get to think of all these people with dogs who have emergency problems even during the day, but they don't have the means of transportation to bring the dog to the vet. So that's why we need like animal help desk. We need to have like an animal patrol, probably, because there are also people just sending me messages about puppies just there, and then they would ask me, please rescue the puppy and stuff. And then again, I would tell them again, it's a one-woman show. I'm looking after over 100 dogs. I need to raise funds and stuff. How would you expect me to go there and rescue the dog? So again, education again. I would tell I was very, very positive in the beginning. All positive things. But then I realized it can't be like this. I mean, sometimes you have to make people realize what's happening. You have to educate them. Sometimes you have to be harsh for them to understand things. So I would tell people who would message me and ask me to rescue dogs, sometimes I would make them realize, who's nearer to the dog? Is it me or you? Who can rescue the dog right now if you think that the dog needs help already? Because sometimes people would send me pictures of puppies and they would tell, the puppies need help.
What's that gonna do, guys?
Exactly. I would tell them, I am in Victorias right now. It's an hour away from where you are. Can you at least get the puppies, bring them to the house if it's not an emergency? But if it's an emergency, then bring the dog straight to the vet.
Yep.
Because, people would always think about the cost. So that's why, I'd like to take this opportunity also to make people understand, like, if you see a dog in distress or see a dog who needs help, medical attention most especially, bring it straight to the vet. Vets don't ask for down payments.
Yep.
Bring the dog straight to the vet, post it on Facebook maybe, or like, get in touch with all your friends or your family members who are dog lovers, because for sure, there's really someone who's willing to pay for the bill or probably raise funds. So what I did, since I started the shelter with having to get all these dog reports, wanting to ask for help, what I did was I could always tell them, bring the dog straight to the vet and then just give me the bill or whatever, and then I can just post it. And there are really people donating. I would give them which vet the dog is confined in, even probably give the account number of the reporter or the vet so that people can donate straight there. Because it's just so wrong when you would just tell me that the dog is sick but you did not do anything. There was one time that someone messaged me and asked for financial assistance because the dog was sick. And then I asked, how long has the dog been like this? And then he told me it's been 2 weeks. And I was like, how can you afford to see your dog suffering for 2 weeks just because you were thinking you don't have money to pay for the vet? Again, the vets don't ask for a down payment.
Yeah.
Bring the dog straight to the vet and think of the payment after. I mean, for sure, the vets are not that heartless for them to sue you if you can't pay them. You know, vets would understand if you don't have money to pay them. Most probably. I'm just thinking of, well, that's just my own thoughts. But I mean, I think after, they can probably give you time to raise money or something, right? So I told him to bring the dog straight to the vet. So he brought the dog straight to the vet after 2 weeks of suffering. And the dog died the next day.
Oh, no.
So, you know, that's why I want to make people understand, please think of the vet bill later. Bring the dog straight to the vet.
There's lots of methods and there's lots of ways to treat your animals better. But Miss Malou Perez, thank you so much for being a guest here on Creative Pickings. Guys, stop messaging her. Mindfulness about your own pets, and of course, please support what Malou is doing. Pawssion Project is a one-woman project that's based in Bacolod, but she's doing so many things, and I'm excited for your dream. Hopefully we can create, or you can create, and hopefully Creative Pickings can help.
We can create.
We can do it together as a collective.
Hope and humanity, really.
Create that central guide for people to be able to help other dogs in the near future, right? So, great.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.